Alright, continuing with turn 3 of our solitaire playthrough of Labyrinth. From here on out, I think I want to do a combination of those quick after action phase clips, and like the ones you saw in the first video, and then on occasion more detailed mid-action reports. So that'll depend on what's happening and how interesting it seems at the time. Here's a look at the troops and jihadist funding tracks. I finished the end of turn cleanup phase for turn 2. The jihadist funding is now at 8, but they're still receiving ample funding, can still draw 9 cards, which they've done. The US, on the other hand, we're at war, so we can only draw up to 8 cards. What else happened? US prestige is still up at very high, still maxing out the prestige track down over here in the left corner. And I also should mention that yet again I've forgotten to place a Cadre recruit marker in Iraq this time, and I forgot to do so in Pakistan, but that now has a cell, so I think we're back on track. But in the meantime, I've pulled all the recruit markers and placed them in a big pile here in hopes that I'll remember to place them next time. This is like the 4th time that I've caught myself forgetting. So with that, let's get started. Alright, so it's the jihadist action phase, card 1. Right off the bat, we've got a plot action. So I'm going to roll to determine which plot we place in Somalia. 3rd one. And that's a 2-value plot. I'll place it here. Somalia's getting crowded here with all these markers and wooden pieces. The 2nd card is played to recruit a cell to Iraq. We roll a 3. That succeeds. For the US action phase, we're going to spend a card to increase reserves by 1. And that was an unassociated event. Then we're going to play a 2 ops card, and along with that reserve, conduct a war of ideas in Somalia, trying to improve governance there from poor to fair. We get a +2 for having very high prestige, and we succeed. Time to resolve plots. Okay, so flip this over. It's a 2 plot in a Muslim country. Funding goes up to 9. Prestige drops to 11. We roll 2 dice, and there's 1 success, which worsens the governance back to poor, and we move on to the next jihadist action phase. The jihadist plot yet again in Somalia. All 3 attempts fail. Nothing happens. Back-to-back plotting in Somalia. Another fail. Close up on the action. We're going to do the same thing as the US player this turn. We're going to spend an unassociated 1-op to increase reserves by 1, and then a US associated 2-op card to conduct a war of ideas in Somalia, to try to improve it from poor to fair. We roll a 1, and unfortunately all we get is aid. It's not looking good. The jihadist AI plays Zawahiri to lower the US prestige by 1 down to 10, and to recruit in Iraq. And they successfully recruit 1, and they recruit again in Iraq and fail. Alright, let's try this one more time. Same thing, reserves, and then added to that to do a war of ideas in Somalia. We get an extra +1 for the aid, and we roll a 3 and finally succeed in bringing this up from poor to fair. And actually I believe the aid remains until it's shifted to good. And then we're down to these two cards. This one is awful, so I'm going to hold on to that. Unfortunately, as much as we'd like to deploy troops back to the US troop track before the end of the turn, I'm going to spend these 2 ops to conduct another war of ideas in Somalia. However, this does trigger the event, and Schroeder and Schrock. Politicians play up defiance of US. Play if US hard. Set Germany and France to soft. -1 prestige. We'll definitely do that after we conduct our war of ideas, as we're right at the breaking point between high and very high on the prestige track. So let's go ahead and roll. And there's a -1 die roll canceling out the aid because we're trying to shift improve governance to good. But we still have our +2 for being very high on the prestige track. And we roll a 4. Well, that's a modified 4, and we get another bit of aid. And now prestige drops down to high to a 9. Germany and France are both soft. And that means that we are currently at +1 hard. And this event gets removed from the game. The jihadists draw this card, Nest, Nuclear Emergency Support Team, a US-associated event with solitaire-specific instructions, 1 player. If jihadists have WMD, all plots in the US are placed face up. Luckily, there are no WMDs in the available plots box quite yet, but jihadist player will use this to plot with in Somalia. They roll a die and are hoping for a 1 or a 2. They roll a 4, and that failed. Next, the jihadists play Kurdistan. Kurds maneuver for sovereignty. If jihadists test Turkey and worsen its or Iraq's governance 1 level, but not to Islamist rule. Turkey, Turkey, Turkey. Here, Iraq is over here, already at poor, so we're going to assume that Turkey starts out a poor neutral country, and then cells would be recruited to Iraq. Both fail. Whoops. This is the final jihadist card. With it, it will plot in Somalia, rolling 3 dice. And all 3 attempts fail. Jihadist funding drops from 9 to 8, and we enter turn 4, first card, Jihadist action phase. Ooh, yes, but this means that they're going to be using this card to plot with. NATO, the alliance, steps up. If GWOT penalty is 0 and a country has regime change, this card is playable and therefore will be ignored. 3 dice are rolled in Somalia, and they have 1 success. Let's see which plot they pick. The first one, we'll place that face down and reveal it at the end of the turn, at the end of the 2 phases. And the second jihadist card, Gitmo, Guantanamo pens suspects offshore. Roll prestige, no recruit operations or detainee release the rest of this turn, lapsing. So we're going to roll for US prestige. And a 2, so that means prestige drops by 3. Ouch. 1, 2, 3. They're now at medium. And because that was an unassociated event, the jihadist AI will conduct a minor jihad in Somalia, rolling 3. And we get 3, 4, and 5, which means that they fail all 3 attempts. Whew. And we'll also have to remove 3 of these cells back to the funding track. The first US card is a 2-ops jihadist associated event that does not get triggered. We're going to conduct a war of ideas in Somalia, again. And we're trying to improve governance to good, which is a little bit more difficult. So there's a -1 for that, +2 for the 8, +0 for prestige. So we're at a +1. We roll a 5, modified 5. We roll a 4 and barely succeed in turning Somalia into a good ally. So that brings our good resources up 1. And we remove all regime change, besieged regime, and aid markers at this point. Next we're going to play this 1-op jihadist associated event that also does not trigger to disrupt in Somalia, remove 2, and improve our prestige by 1, bringing us up to the high area of the track. And then I'm going to place a Cadre recruit marker in Somalia. During the jihadist action phase, for their first card, they play this for the event. Jemaah Islamiyah, Southeast Asian jihadists, place 2 cells in Indonesia, which is over here. So up till now we've kind of largely been ignoring Asia, but we'll have to test to see where we start as far as governance is concerned. And we roll a 5, which is a fair neutral. And they place 2 cells there automatically. Next, the jihadist AI will attempt a plot operation in the United Kingdom, activating this cell, rolling once, hoping for a 1. They roll a 6, way off. During the US action phase, we'll use this card for the ops to... what was I going to do with it? I think I was going to alert Somalia of this terror plot. Target any country with a plot to remove or block that plot. Use a 3-ops card. Result. Select and reveal. And return to the available plots box. And for a second card, we will deploy our troops out of Somalia back to the troop track, bringing our troop intensity down to low. The next jihadist card is Schengen Visas, trip planning made easy, automatically travel 2 cells to or within any Schengen countries. So, we've not done traveling yet in this game. First you decide where you're traveling to. Well, this would be to any of the Schengen countries, so actually there's a little chart here you can roll on, and I'll go ahead and resolve that. 6, Italy, and 3, Germany. Okay. And where are these cells coming from? Well, one is coming from the UK. From the UK to Italy. And some random location. But in this case, we have actually only an option of 3, Iraq, Pakistan, and Indonesia, which is down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We get a 6 from Indonesia. And we'll place this one in Germany. We're going to test Italy's posture. 3 is soft. And that brings world relations to 0. And I should also place a cadre in the UK. The jihadist spends its next card to plot. Out here in either Germany or Italy, odds, evens, evens, and they fail. Now the US is going to play this card, Abbas, Palestinian peace partner for the event, allows quartet if troops not in overstretch and no Islamist rule adjacent to Israel plus 1, bringing it up to 8 now, on the prestige, and -2, bringing that down to 6 or moderate funding. Remove marker if a plot resolved in Israel. Mark and remove. For the second US card, we'll play this, which is a jihadist associated event, Islamic Jihad Union, Uzbek jihadists. Place a cell each in Central Asia and Afghanistan. Remove for the 2 ops points. We'll place the cells and with the 2 ops we'll deploy troops from the Gulf states to Afghanistan. Now the jihadists will play this for the ops to plot with in Afghanistan. Rolling once and hoping for a 1 to succeed. They roll a 6 again. Next, the jihadists will play Bin Laden, high value target number 1 to drop US prestige by 2. Down to medium or 6. And they'll also use these ops to conduct a minor jihad in Afghanistan. We roll once, and it's a 4. That's a fail. And this cell is removed. And actually, this should have gone away when we placed that first cell. And when you fail in a major jihad, you do not place a cadre when you remove a cell to the funding track. So this goes away. Next we'll spend this card for the ops to disrupt. The question is where to disrupt, and I can't quite decide. Somalia, Canada, and we'll discard our last card as we did the previous turn. The final jihadist card is Abu Sayyaf. Place a cell in the Philippines. This is not good. While Abu Sayyaf infect, US may deploy there, and -1 prestige for each plot placed unless troops outnumber cells blocked by Moro talks. Mark and remove. Jihadists align with Moro separatists. This is very, very bad because on this map the Philippines is adjacent to the United States, and I can't remember if I came across the Patriot Act in this play already or if that was a previous game, but either way a cell goes there. We'll test its posture. 2, which is soft, and that means that the world is actually at soft 1, which means there's a -1. There's a -1 penalty on the War of Ideas table for the die roll modifier. And on top of that, I'm going to have to dig up the event chit, place it there. Now funding goes down to 5, and US prestige stays where it is, and we deal a new hand of cards, and the US receives 9, the jihadist player only 8 this turn. We can also now remove this Guantanamo event, as it was only lapsing for 1 turn.